Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to talk about season 2 of Bling Empire. First of all, why is it only 8 episodes? They seriously should consider doing like the Ozark model and do like part 1 and then part 2, because 8 episodes, we just got into it. And in particular, I only wanted to focus on one drama because, you know, there's a lot of dramas within the drama of reality TV. But because it's the mystery that has been left unfinished and they unraveled it a little bit, but who's lying? Is it Anna or Christine? And through like body language, stuff that's said or unsaid, but you can start to see a little bit more clues if you do kind of recognize some of the patterns that we have seen a lot with some of our more colorful characters here in Korea. Alright, so maybe there are going to be some spoiler alerts, so just wanted to give you that heads up. But at the core of this is, again, this sort of like competition that is needless competition, where it looks like on one side, yes, I've already made up my mind, and I do have, yes, a theory. So it looks like Christine is the one that is very insecure, as Anna says. Anna repeatedly went a little bit more on the offensive this season. She was a little bit more direct because she was just tired of it. And all the way towards the end, basically, you know, where we're going to towards the climax, she's basically saying like, let me tell you what is so obvious to other people. And it is very clear to me, because like all the signs are there, that we have somebody who is beginning to maybe get a little bit dangerous. And I think that is that's what Anna was responding to. In the beginning, we see that, yes, again, starting from the first like Diamonds party or whatnot, that there was an interaction between the two and they're trying to play nice. And this was the classic manipulative move by Christine in order to get invited over to Anna's house, but to claim that Anna invited her. If you look at the transcript, of course, then you could say like, you know, Anna said, come over. But the way that Christine does is like, oh, I heard you got a new house. Of course she wants to go, of course she was probably trying to pretend that it was like congratulatory, but she wants to go over to the house and check it out and compare, because for her this comparison thing is so important. Now she was able to then kind of like push the conversation, and then Anna knew exactly what was going on. She's like, that'll be fun to see, you know, Miss Desperate looking through all of my stuff and trying to, you know, pretend that she's not impressed or pretend she's not trying to catalog everything. And so she did that. But even before this happened, you can tell Christine has like a very common attacks is basically Anna's age. She's always trying to like target her age as the weakness, like she might be insecure about, but Anna obviously is not. But when she's like, oh, grandmother, how do you feel about that? You know, like being called that, like, see, it's always kind of like there's this little bit of a line for like, oh, she might have meant just grandma, but really it's just like now that you're old. And people who have studied like drama or acting know that like half of the performance, or maybe 80% of your performance, is in the subtext, what is not said, or what the tone is of how like you've been saying this. And so of course, like here in Korea, the tone is everything because that's where all of the information is. So we're a little bit more attuned to it. So my tone meter said that she was going in for an insult. And again, we had this confirmed when she and Dorothy went to the Herbalist shop to buy a gift for Anna, and she said, oh, I have a crinkly friend who's old. And then she's basically talking crap about Anna behind the back. And even that, like, herbalist who, I don't know, that dude, like, needs to get it together because he's, like, creating, like, bad, like, stereotypes. But you can totally tell he's doing it, like, I think as an act in order, because that's what probably customers want from a guy like him, because he dropped his mask too, and he was just like, you're like talking crap, that's so inappropriate, crossing the line. That is also another thing that we've seen from her, is that she lacks the impulse control. And so when she was at the auction for the Father's Day episode where they got the car for her husband, and her husband even said, like, she doesn't know when to stop. She's even like bet against herself in an auction before. And so like she has to win and has no impulse control. And so it went way over budget, 50% over the budget that he wanted to spend. Like, he really didn't need the car, and you can totally tell, like, it wasn't something like, oh, he had to have. He just, was like, that'd be nice. The key moment of this battle was when it seemed as if Anna laid it out on the line when the visit to the house happened, and Christine was trying to be, like, in this case, the whole altruistic narcissist, basically saying, like, oh, I've been so worried about, like, other people, single moms, and then blah, blah, blah. And Anna was just, like, seeing right through and just like, why are you trying to be so altruistic? Why are you trying to be so extra? And she basically, they basically started to get into some sort of an altercation about, again, money, and how, like, Christine was trying to say, like, oh, I did come from money, and Anna was just like, I don't. And so the mask, like, even Anna said, like, in the private talkback, like, Christine is trying to portray herself as something that she wasn't a year ago. Now, I don't know why it's so important for Christine to, like, have this sort of, like, image and try to be so, like, trying to pretend that she's, like, so, like, old moneyed or something like that. But apparently it's very important to her, and usually people like this will then either, like, latch on to what they idolize, which is basically Anna, this old money matron kind of power figure, and then if they're not accepted by them, then try to tear them down. But the critical thing that I think that Anna did here was that she really did jostle Christine and scare her, because for Christine, it is about this con. I hate to use that word, but basically kind of like, that's how it feels. It's like kind of like, Kim said, ooh, I get the desperate vibes from her, and sort of like a desperate person trying to create an image. I mean, I think she should just focus on, like, being, like, great fashionista, beautiful, and just, like, meticulous, and yeah, like, do that image. But, like, why do you have to put all the extra other stuff and then try to push people down and then, like, play games with them and then pretend you're not playing games and everyone's seeing through this, but except for you? And so what Anna did, I think, was basically say, like, I'm onto you, I see you, and I could, in a way, like, talk about it, but she doesn't care. She's just saying, like, stop being so fake. You don't have to be this fake. But I think the way that Christine did take it was exactly what she said in terms of, like, the so-called phone call. She said she got a phone call from somebody that warned her that Anna was going to take her down and destroy her. That is, I think, her inner self who called herself on the phone line from one brain synapse to another brain synapse, saying, danger, danger, danger. Anna could literally destroy me and end me by what? Exposing the kind of fakery. But the thing is that everybody sees it, but not everybody. That's the thing. Like, there are the people who are important finally could be swayed by an Anna's opinion, whereas, like, she can fool, like, people who are like, oh, like, really kind of like captivated by the materialism she can still fool those people, but she can't fool people like Anna and other people at her level. She could fool for a while, but definitely like for someone like Anna, you can't fool her from the beginning, and you can't fool her, you can't manipulate and get her back into a little bit of a love blinded kind of state. And so therefore she is a red hot threat, and she actually is doing this to take Anna down, to end Anna, to destroy Anna. Now that is like a very dangerous game to play with somebody like Anna, and Anna has been being very patient, and that's why I think Christine has been getting bolder and more aggressive and more like kind of confident in like her belief that she could kind of take down an Anna. And then Anna suddenly is kind of like, okay, let's open this door and let's just, do the smackdown. Now we have to actually, now like the infestation has gotten to a point where like you can't ignore it, and that actually like she said, if you start to cross people who are in my life, now it's becoming like a threat of Christine's actions in terms of like threatening Anna's stature, her image, her reputation, and just even kind of like having somebody constantly attack you like this, and being very unpredictable and manipulative and going through all these. Yeah, we've seen a lot of that in this country, and the methods we've seen very similar, of being able to like skirt around and then use people's weaknesses of their own mind by kind of gossiping or planting ideas in people's heads and trying to then attack and destroy Anna without being labeled or identified as the bad guy. Anna sees that and starts to see like how unpredictable and dangerous this is, and that's when she does the smackdown, and that's when she actually even says like, fine, let's just get our lawyers into this. And then Christine was like, well, why don't you check your sources first? And that, I think, was a Freudian slip, because she knew that that was her biggest weakness in this whole thing, is that it's like a fake source. Most likely, nobody called her. There's a fake source, or she's going to pay somebody to be the source that told her something that actually is not even any kind of thing that even has any kind of grounding on it, because the source themselves could be lying. So all of this is kind of like built on a house of cards. And so, but on Anna's threat though was not built on a house of cards, even though Christine was like, well, you're gonna try to say something about like it's not like slander or anything like that. And she's like, yeah, I know it's hard, that's one of the hardest things to prove, but I would have a fun time with it. It would be a headache, but it would be a fun time. Now, what does she mean by this? The thing is that she played the strategy out and knew that even if the case was about slander, and she couldn't prove that part because it's really difficult, through the process of the lawsuit, she would actually then literally have to ask Christine to identify the source. See? And she was basically saying like, it will be fun because I'm going to catch you in the lie, or I'm going to see what you come up with in terms of like who this source was or how you're going to respond to this whole source. And through this back and forth process, she can probably extract more information out of Christine that can expose like other maybe inconsistencies in her stories or her life or things like that. And she knows that this thing can be more advantageous to her. And so that's why she kind of lobbed it out there. And I think Christine also knew that that could actually get a little bit dicey if she continued to go on this track. And so I thought that was a good smackdown, and definitely if she was really, really telling the truth, I don't think it would have played out like this. I think Christine would have had a little bit more of like her feet in the ground, or it wouldn't matter so much. That's the thing. If it wasn't a thing to be weaponized, it wouldn't have been used in this manner. It would have been more of like, Anna, did you really say that? Like, or like, should I be worried? Like, it would just be kind of like a one and done deal. And even if Anna had said that, Christine would most likely be like, if you try to do that, then, this is what's coming to you. That would be a more appropriate kind of normal response, but yet it ends in Christine's world, it ends at this kind of like, this big thing about like a threat, and Anna's a threatening force. And so you can see like that's the utility of that lie for her. Yeah. Also, we can see some of the corroborating evidence, the way that Kane immediately knew from the beginning of the episode 1, seeing that like, the way that they're talking, even though it looks cordial, looks like they're fighting. And then his immediate gut reaction to, because he played the flying monkey in this case, where like, but it didn't really work on him because he's not an idiot himself. And so he, in his gut, was like, this doesn't seem true from Christine. And when he went to Kelli and to Kim, they even said that like they don't believe that Christine is telling the truth. And then it was so funny when Kim was like, yeah, she always gave me desperate vibes. And so like even the vibe check on her is off among that group of her so-called friends, but apparently like she said in an interview saying that she's not really their friends. We also saw that when you have this needless competition, and then when you talk about it with that person, like God forbid you actually have to talk to that narcissist, and then, yeah, because I do think she has the NPD, and so when you start arguing about how to even have the conversation, because they were just like, I'm not, when you have a conversation with somebody like, I'm not done yet, or stop talking over me, or like, and then you have to have an argument about how to have the argument, that's when you're dealing with somebody like this, and red flags should go up all over the place, and you should just try to get out of that situation. So have you seen the show, and are you Team Anna or Team Christine? Do you think Christine really did get a phone call from an actual real source who really did hear that about Anna, saying that like Anna wanted to end Christine? Or do you think Christine just made it up? Or do you think actually in Christine's mind, like legitimately, I think she did feel that fear, but it was just herself talking to herself. And she said like, even in that moment, that little girl came out. Who is that little girl? Yeah, the real Christine, her real self got shaken and shook by the potential of the fake Christine that she has built her life around being threatened. And so that is the crossing of the synapses, I believe, is what happened to her, and she has to heal her inner child. But I don't think Anna's going to want to help her out on that. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Put it in the comments below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye-bye, guys.
Tune in next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Love you.